and we'll go ahead and kind of get started with kind of instructions and some information for the evening. And again, we'll start the panel, our first panel at like 6:35 probably. I'm going to go ahead and give everybody kind of quick intro, and then I'm going to hand it off to Steve, and then it'll be back to me for kind of our panel discussions and all that. So welcome everyone. We're really excited to have you. If you just started in the CWCT program, then you're in for a very special treat tonight. And if this is your second or your third career event with us, welcome back. We're really excited to be trying this out. This is new for our program. If you've been to our previous events, they were more like kind of a more of a rigid structure in a sense in the way that we were doing each of our employer partners. And this time we're trying out a panel discussion with some really exciting guests in 3 different panels that are going on at 6:30 p.m. tonight. That's Eastern time in a few minutes here. One at 7:15 covering cybersecurity in different industries. And again at 8 p.m. and that'll be resource organizations and hiring agencies. Each one is a little bit different. But each one, I want to encourage you all that are in here is not necessarily just a panel discussion, but hopefully also a way for you to network and meet some of the people that are in the industry. We've got a very diverse group here tonight covering multiple industries while still touching cybersecurity and IT and the like as such. So please, when these folks out here that are going to be doing the panels or in our breakout sessions tonight, if they offer their contact information to you, take advantage of that. We've got some really, really great talent here and some great subject matter experts and leaders in this industry that are out here. And I want to encourage you, as a veteran myself and as someone who transitioned from this into a role like this one, sometimes it's important to kind of go through that, what may seem convoluted, but really is an important aspect of networking. And that's why the first panel is going to be a lot about that. How do you have those conversations? How do you get there? Steve's probably going to mention some of those stats, but a vast majority of jobs nowadays are found through networking and not the traditional means. So in terms of housekeeping, we're going to start this first panel in a few minutes. While these are going on, if you all are in here, you'll see that there's individual breakout sessions that are showing at the bottom of your screen. So those are, and they should have times attached to them that show what organization is there. And if there's a time that's next to the organization, that means that's a confirmed time that they are going to be in that breakout session. And that's just an opportunity for at any time during the evening, you to hop in there and hopefully have small group or one-on-one discussions with some of these folks. Some of them are on a panel this evening, some are not in a panel, and they'll be in there just to answer some questions. And again, I want to encourage you to utilize that to the fullest extent. Even if it comes to asking, hey, this is a job I've been looking at maybe your organization. What's the next steps? What do I do? Do you know somebody that I might be able to talk to? That's what networking is. So again, without further ado, I think I forgot to mention, my name's Steve Olson. I'm one of the program managers. I'm outside of UNC Charlotte. Happy to be here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Steve Ryder, great colleague of mine, an expert in the field and has many years in multiple high-level roles in the private sector. And he's going to kind of introduce and set the tone for the evening. And then we'll get started with our first panel. Steve, take it away, sir.
All right, sir. Again, Steve Ryder here, and so glad that you're here. I join with Steve's welcoming as well. And I'm with University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. And question for you all to think about. Why do you care to spend this time with us discussing networking? Why is it an important topic? I'm not talking about the technical use of that word, but human interaction. The main reason we are focusing this segment of our time together with you is because that is how people get jobs. So many of the students we all speak to spend huge amounts of time on websites like Indeed. They may use great tools like LinkedIn. But according to HubSpot, 85% of all jobs are filled through networking. And according to CNBC, 70% of jobs are never published publicly. For the record, one of the worst mistakes most of you will make it, about 95% of you, after you find that job that you're looking for in this field, you will decide to abandon networking. Worst mistake you could possibly make going forward. Networking is the single most effective way to not only get a job, it is the best way to grow your career over time. This evening, we have some amazing, talented panelists who are going to provide us with practical insights into why networking matters. So take notes, ask questions, and enjoy this evening. Back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. I think that's a great introduction. I think that really sets the tone. Again, just to echo that, take advantage of these things. I think this is a great opportunity. So I want to go ahead and get started with our first panel here. I know we're kind of pushing on time, but we tend to do that in these events because we've got a lot of good information coming in. So our first panel for the evening is titled networking. And it's a pretty broad term. And and we're not talking about switches, routers, and access points this evening, though many of you maybe have expected that. But no, this is networking in the sense of how do you get that job. So some of the basics of that and kind of what that looks like. On the panel this evening, I'm going to take a second to introduce our four guests. We have Jay Salters from Act Now Education. He's the executive director of Act Now and the founder. He's the CEO of Great Quality Consulting. He currently serves as a cryptologic naval warfare officer and has been for the last 8 years, and has his master's of science from the Naval Postgraduate School. So welcome, Jay. Jonathan Tennis is here with us as well. He's a customer success manager at Microsoft, previously was a project manager in the defense industry, including Lockheed Martin, and was an intel officer in the U.S. Army for 6 years. He has his master's from University of Tampa. Welcome, Jonathan. Happy to have you. Josh Mason, Global Partners Lead at SimSpace and Brand Manager at Cyber Insecurity, also a LinkedIn personality in the field of cybersecurity. Also served 11 years in the Air Force as a cyber warfare officer and went to the U.S. Air Force Academy. Josh, thank you so much for giving us your time this evening. Lastly, we've got Ian Mitchell, managing partner of Omega Fin Crime and founder and board chair of The Noble. Has a degree from University of Washington, has 24 years as a fraud fighter in the industry. And the mission of much of their work is to protect vulnerable populations from human trafficking as it relates to financial crime. So this is a really cool panel, and I'm really excited to have you all. I was trying to figure out how to do this best with Zoom in terms of the speaker view, but I would encourage you, if you are in this call, because I can't do it for everyone, if you go to the top right of your screen and click view, there should be a drop down. You can turn on the speaker view, and that'll give you kind of a better idea watching this panel when you're watching our four guests talk. So thank you so much for having us. I'm going to go shoot this off real quickly, straight over to, and did Jay make it in here? Did I see him?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Jay, welcome back. Jay, first question is to you. We'll just start out kind of basic. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a quick intro, what Act Now does, and then if you don't mind, tell us real quickly, what does networking mean to you?
Oh, absolutely. So Act Now Education, we are the resource for the resources. There are over 40,000 different resources out there for the military community. Not a lot of people are aware of those resources. So what we do is we highlight those. There's everybody in our organization is a volunteer, including myself. No one's getting paid. This is a passion of ours to help our community. We offer free master's degrees. We offer free access to Coursera. That's 7,000 courses, 500 specialties, and 26 certificates. We offer, we have a partnership with Intuit, and we're helping military spouses get certified in bookkeeping and then getting a job. And then we're also partnered with Splunk. That's just some of the things we do, but collectively, like I said, our community is about 38,000 members on Facebook, and there's resources every day that we put out. You don't have to pay for anything. If you're buying a certification or you're paying for certification, you're wrong. Don't do that. If you're not familiar how to network, you don't know what's out there, what resources out there, there's a lot. Into networking, what it means to me, it's everything. I started from the ground up. Some of the suggestions I would make is use programs like ACP, Veterati, connect with folks in the industries that you're interested into, do informational interviews, meaning you're asking them questions related to the jobs that you want to get into. Ask them what the day in the life is. Get as much information as possible. Never play the gray man or woman, which means you go to events and you don't really say anything. Ask questions, identify at least 3 or 4 people that you want to connect with on LinkedIn, and do so. Start building a network then. It's better to have a network and not need it than to need a network and not have it. A lot of people in the military, as far as when we transition, we wait too long to do that. And so do it now, do it when you can. If you don't have a network, connect with me. My network is your network, and I'm connected to a lot of folks. So we'll start there. And that's what I got.
That's awesome, Jay. I think you're getting a great start, and it almost piques my interest in what is a network. I mean, we can kind of dive into that, but Yeah, great start, Jay. Thanks so much. I want to let everybody get a chance to kind of introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of get in the heat of it. Jonathan, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your role, and then again, same question posed to you. What does networking mean to you? Why is it important?
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity. So my name is Jonathan Tennis. I'm a customer success account manager, work for Microsoft. Coming up on my year anniversary. Prior to joining Microsoft, I spent about 20 years in the DoD consulting world. I got my start in the Army, as was mentioned earlier, and a lot of my time, to answer the question about why networking is so important to me, I spent a lot of my time in closed spaces with the U.S. government, where I really didn't feel comfortable talking about necessarily what I did on a day-to-day basis, and really didn't have a good network, to help me translate kind of what I was doing in a nice unclassified way into the civilian space. And so I just kind of let my network languish. I didn't really kind of had a LinkedIn account, but didn't really use it for anything. But since joining Microsoft last year, not just because Microsoft owns LinkedIn, but it was one of those things I wanted to get out there, start giving back to the community. I've got a lot of people that I've come in contact with over the years, a lot of folks who have reached out and said, hey, is there anything I can do? Joined Veterati, joined ACP, and just started kind of branch out there to try and build that network. Not because I needed a job, but because I wanted to do what I could to help the community of veterans.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. And it's kind of funny. This is kind of a good example of networking. The reason me and Jonathan connected was just kind of out of pure chance by using LinkedIn and seeing kind of common interests. And he reached out and I realized about his career. And I know he's got a really passion for giving back. So that is the network, and you never know where that can lead you. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Josh Mason, I've been following you on LinkedIn for a while. And I know Dr. Gerald Ozier has been with us before, and he had mentioned to reach out to you as well. Said you're a great resource. You're a great resource to a lot of people on LinkedIn who are trying to break into cyber. Tell us a little bit about what you do. And again, same question. What does networking mean to you?
Yeah, so my background, I started off flying C-130s and then switched into cybersecurity. And when I started my transition 4 years ago, I was not planning to continue in cybersecurity. Did it because the military told me. And some of you guys might be able to relate to that. And then I got a lot of help from my friends, Veterati, Operation Code, VetSec, a lot of different communities where I reached out and said, hey, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. Can anyone help me? And I got a lot of help and a lot of resources thrown at me and helped me land jobs, some suggestions to connect with people and how to make solid connections. And that's what landed me my second and my third job, connections, and how I met Jerry and probably how we got connected, Steve. But there's a lot of resources out there. One of the big things I've tried to do is everything that I've found, tried to push to others. Just like when I came across Jay and Act Now, I was like, ooh, this is a great resource. People need to know about this. And that's kind of what I do in my free time when I'm not being a sales engineer. But
No, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah. But connecting is huge. There's so many chances to throw out your resume and apply for jobs here and there. But truth be told, if you can connect with a person who is hiring and they're like, I trust your background. I can find you on LinkedIn. Like, you're pretty straightforward and clear about where you've come from, and you've put enough out there that now that we're connected and I see that I like you and I want to work with you, that goes really, really, really far. And that's literally how I landed the last 2 jobs. It was, okay, you're not crazy. That's what I thought. Good, let's do this. It's huge. So I'm a big fan.
No, thanks, Josh. I want to come back to that too, like the difference between just having a really strong resume and getting all these interview prep things to go. You got your research for the company, but that doesn't, I meet so many vets and just all adult learners who are trying to break in the field, and they're like, it's not working. That's not working. What's wrong? I've got a really good resume. And what's that piece? What's the difference? So I want to get back to that. I want to give Ian a chance to go ahead, but I appreciate your time again, Josh. Ian, really thank you so much for having us again. Omega Fin Crime is a great partner of our program. I know you've also presented about your philanthropic things that you've got going on. And Ian Mitchell here played a song for us at one of our orientations a while back, which was a very special treat. So thanks for having us back. Same question, please just tell us a little bit about what you do on the work side and the nonprofit side, and what does networking mean to you?
Sure. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Thanks, Steve and Steve, for inviting me back. I appreciate it. So yeah, hey, everybody. Good evening. 25-year fraud fighter. I've fought fraud, cyber-enabled fraud, financial crimes across over 20 countries for the last couple decades at top banks around the country. It's been a privilege and a blessing to have the career that I have. I retired early 7 years ago, moved down to Chattanooga, Tennessee to do something different, focused on the music and a couple books, but honestly fell back into the world of fighting financial crime because I became aware of the problem of human trafficking. And I started a nonprofit called The Noble. The Noble is a network, and I'll come back to answer the question. I'll come back to the network we created, The Noble. And it's a network of financial services, cyber professionals, fraud professionals, financial crime professionals, all designed to fight what we call human crime, which is human trafficking, child exploitation, scams, and elder abuse. And it is a network in itself. I also started a company called Omega, and Omega Fin Crime is a fraud services organization. We fight fraud, cyber-enabled fraud, and scams with some of the top banks in the country, in North America primarily. We do everything from consulting to we're opening up a new organization or new business here with our partners MSI, who's on the phone, and Steve Ritter is Ryder. I'm sorry, I always say your name wrong, man. But we're partnering with Steve, and we're opening up Operations Center here in Chattanooga. It'll be the first of 3 sites to fight fraud for financial institutions. 25% of our employees will be survivors of human trafficking. So really trying to be mission focused. When we talk about what networks are to me, it does mean a job, and it does mean a way to get a good job. But candidly, what I've learned about networks, and I probably undervalued it in the early parts of my career, it's a way to get things done. What I realized after having now started a couple businesses, and both have been doing very well, it's not about starting businesses. For me, this whole world operates with people. We're not in the business. We are all in the people business. And so you have to realize that the way you get things done is not on an island by yourself. The way you accomplish a mission is with a team. And I'm talking to military people. I'm not former military, although I did learn a ton working for USAA. And honestly, the appreciation I have for military and law enforcement couldn't be any bigger. And so I realized that I wasn't going to change the world or make the world a better place or solve any problems by myself that I couldn't do together. And that includes finding a job. But I think from me, when it comes to networks, I think it's really important talking to a bunch of mission-focused people. Find a mission you're passionate about, then find a network that is also passionate about a mission and go solve the problem together. That's a great way to find a job. And we'll talk more about my experiences of hiring and the people, why I choose to hire the people I do, and honestly, why some people that are very qualified that ping me and don't end up getting hired. We can talk about that later, but just appreciate being on the call, and I'm thrilled to be here and get to know a couple people on this panel.
Likewise, Ian, and for all of our panel this evening, if you've got time after this call, if you feel like popping into one of these breakout sessions at the bottom, you're going to have more questions from a lot of our students. So kind of on the subject of what it means to network, my next question is kind of open-ended, but really I think it's an important one. How do you be authentic when you're trying to network? And kind of a follow-up to that is, what are the landmines that you kind of have to avoid? And to kind of give you a scenario here, you're new to networking, maybe you're transitioning military, and you set up your LinkedIn profile, you're kind of sending messages. How do you be authentic about yourself? Because like many of you said, it's about the people, and even Josh said it, like, am I going to like this person, right? So how do you be authentic? What landmines, to use a military term, do you need to avoid? So that's open to anybody on the panel.
Yeah, I'll start off with just, I love the word authentic. That's one of my favorites. Jimmy, being authentic to yourself. I mean, that's important to be in all circumstances, but you have to figure out how to be authentic and not cheesy or too open. I mean, I think there's a level of authenticity that you need to make sure you're transparent about who you are, what you're motivated by. That's very, very, I love that. And then there's sometimes you get in conversations where you get probably too much down the personal side. I think that's wonderful when you understand people, what their likes or dislikes, what their who they are, because a complete employee or coworker is absolutely important. But just like you figure out what the elevator speech is on who your, what your career, what your past experience have done and how it's equipped you for a current job. I think you also have to think about who you are as a person also. What motivates you? Put some thought into understanding why you do what you do, what your likes are, because you don't want to take a 30-minute or 15-minute or 5-minute discussion and spend 4.5 minutes trying to figure out yourself, who you are as a person. So I would just say, should spend as much time figuring out what you do when people ask you who you are and why should I work with you, as much as, hey, this is my career, this is my education, and this is my history. That's just initial thought.
I would say that was a great point, Ian. I would say, and just to be this, because this is how I am, you're not going to get it right. It doesn't always happen the way that you want it to be. Some people will ignore you, some people won't pay you mind, but don't let that be the thing that stops you. Take that in stride. Just have a game plan, be prepared. If you're speaking out or you're reaching out to someone, do your research. Know what their background is, what their interest is. Know what the questions to ask them. You want to be as prepared as possible. I've known several people who have gotten jobs by, they like say, give us an example, they're interested in Scrum. So they build their LinkedIn profile to look as if they are in Scrum, or they're trying to jump into that career field. And then they would reach out to someone, or like just look at their profile, and that person would actually contact them and say, hey, you look like you have everything that we're looking for. Let's jump on a call. And so you have to kind of understand, be prepared in those situations. Do a lot of informational interviews. I know it's not always going to feel good reaching out to somebody and not necessarily getting to touch base with people, but also understanding from their perspective. If you're speaking to a recruiter, they're probably getting hit up left, right, and center. So what helps you separate yourself from everyone else? And how can you connect with that? That's why programs like Veterati, ACP, Commit Foundation, USO Pathfinders, those programs actually help you because they connect you with folks that can kind of get yourself in the door. If you think about it, there's a long line of people trying to get in the building. The easiest way to get in the building is to have somebody open the side door. So use those networks to kind of connect with folks to help you get into that, and that'll be helpful. But just understand that there are going to be some downtime. There's not going to be a lot of, like, you're not going to always be successful in every attempt that you make, but do not let that be essentially what limits you on how you reach out to folks.
I'll piggyback on both those. One of my go-to books when I'm in between audiobooks is How to Make Friends and Influence People, because I came from the Air Force, so I need help in that every once in a while. One of the key stories that hit me today, every time I listen to that book, it at me, but it's along the lines of authenticity and connecting with people, is give people what they want. So if you know a company is hiring for a role and they put out a job description, and maybe someone out there is has a personality on LinkedIn, or the business has a personality out there, what are they interested in? What do they want? And just like Jay was saying, if you're interested in Scrum and you find a company that needs a Scrum master and you know Scrum, then be that thing that they want. Kip Boyle has a lot of useful information about how to create your, how to network, how to make your resume, how to do interview skills. One of the things he says is just steal directly from the job description. If they are looking for this thing, be that thing. Be exactly what they want. Connect with someone, and if it's specific to a job, be what they want. Don't be, obviously be authentic. You can't lie your way into stuff. That's not going to get you anywhere. People will see through that, if not initially, very quickly. People have been around the block. But if you have that thing, make sure to highlight the thing that hits. Another one is be a human being. Like, we meet people all the time at church events, if you were in the military, at school, at kids functions, at your kids' school. Like, you run into people all the time and you chit chat and you learn things about their lives. The same way, be real with whoever it is you're trying to connect with, and be like, what are you into? Be a human being, and you'll get there. It can be weird. It can feel weird, especially on LinkedIn, where it's very, very professional and people only share certain things. Be professional, but try to find out, okay, Do you have kids? I have kids. We can relate. We can connect. Do you like sports? Like football is about to start. Who's your favorite team? My favorite team says there's little things where you don't have to like tell your whole life story. You can connect with people and get them to like, oh, I like talking to this person. And that's huge. So little things, be real. Don't be too much out there though.
Yeah, I love what the rest of the panel has shared. I love the word authentic as well. And one of my core principles is lead with the truth. And that is because, you know, I love creative writing. I love reading. It's a huge hobby of mine. But it's so hard, you know, and we've all done it in life. You know, when I was a kid and like, did you do X, Y, and Z? Of course, you don't want to tell your parents that you did this. So you start telling a story and then it gets this convoluted thing. And it's like, well, and the reason I'm telling this is because I've seen people do this in interviews where they try to make themselves up in their resume or in the actual process, talk themselves up. Yeah, you're supposed to be selling yourself. And that's the whole point of an interview. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to land the job. But if you're doing it with the truth, if you're being authentic, then, you know, you're being reasonable and realistic, then you're not going to get the job later on and only find out, hey, it turns out you're not a SME with 25 years of engineering experience. You just graduated a couple of years ago. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you should be looking at jobs for the types of positions where your experience matches. You know, and so that's something in terms of networking. I think that the biggest landmine I see in networking, and this is somebody who's just really kind of ramped up networking, especially focused on the veteran community, because I think it's a place where I love the military. I love what the military provides for us. I mean, I got 2 graduate degrees from the GI Bill, so I absolutely love the service, love the network I was able to develop in the military. But in terms of getting out, the transition is a really rough one. You know, translating your military experience to civilian experience. What I've seen a lot happen is, you know, people hit me up and they say, hey, you work for Microsoft now, get me a job. I'm like, that's not how networking works. You know, so network for networking's sake, don't network for just the job. So, you know, if you come in with the hard sell and you're like, hey, you work for this company, can you talk to you have the CEO's email address, can you email him my resume? No, I won't email your resume to my CEO, but I'll work with you to you know, get connected with the recruiters. I've got a connection. I love what I think it was Jay said earlier about my network is your network. You know, I think that is a wonderful principle, and I also share that sentiment. Anybody who needs anything, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Love to connect and would absolutely do whatever I can to help get you to that next spot.
So I'm loving all of this. I think these are really great answers about what it means to be authentic. And we're kind of touching on my next question, which is kind of trying to navigate that process. And this is somewhat specific to military, but it doesn't really have to be, because networking is foreign to a lot of people. And it was to me. It still is in many ways. I'm still learning. I'm taking notes for myself tonight. But when somebody is going to do what you just said, Jonathan, right? Like you're reaching out to somebody, and Josh, Jay, and Ian all kind of talked about this. Some job seekers struggle with being specific in their request. So it's obviously you want to avoid, you know, hey, can you get me a job? Right? That doesn't work like that. But you also, especially, and I'm just saying this from a veteran's perspective because I hear this a lot, but this is a lot of folks, is they don't know how to be specific. So the networking kind of dies off. And that's okay, because it's not always going to work out. But some job seekers struggle with being specific. Do any of you have advice on how to articulate what you're looking for? And do you know somebody else that can help me? Are my qualifications legit? Do you know somebody, you know, as you're kind of looking for, not specifically for a referral, but that's what can happen as part of the networking process, right? So how do you navigate that? So really, what is your advice on how to articulate what you're looking for as you're networking, looking for a job?
I would say you kind of have to disarm the situation, right? Whoever you're speaking to, the thing that you want to convey to them is where you're at. I'm transitioning. I got about 6 months, or, you know, I've been a veteran for this long. I'm interested in learning more about your particular company and the job that you do. Would you mind jumping on a call for an informational interview? That's really where it starts. Like I said, not a lot of people may run with that, but the folks that do, and you can ask those questions, like that's clear, just trying to get understanding of that job position, what they do, how they do it, what's the day in the life of, and then you can ask all those questions. And they'll be, and to be honest, a lot of people want to help the military in any capacity they can. So use that to your advantage and reach out to folks. But like I said, make sure you do your homework first, because you don't want to be like, yeah, I'm looking for a job, you know, I want to be an engineer. Okay, great. What type of degree you have? I don't have one. What's your background? You know, I was admin. You want to make sure that you are doing your research on the type of positions that you want to apply for, understanding what the requirements are, what certifications you may need. You can do all that from Google. And then when you speak to that person, understand what that company's mission, vision, culture is about. And then that way you can kind of fine tune your questions based off of things that meet for you. But here's the biggest thing. You're not going to know well, not a lot. When you transition, you're not going to know what you want to do. For the most part, people like, I have this idea or I want to do this type of job, but you're not going to know 100%. When you land that job, it might be a little bit different from what you think it is. It's okay to fill in those gaps with those questions, asking folks, hey, can you tell me about your job? Can you tell me more about what you don't like? What are the things that are awesome about what you do? That way you can kind of fine tune what you want to do and go from there. That would be my best recommendation.
So I've got a story. This time 4 years ago, I got told by the military, like, hey, you've got until the end of the year. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And so I reached out a lot and kind of freaked out and was like, I don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up in 6 months. And got a lot of help, got into a SkillBridge internship with an awesome company, and got really active on LinkedIn, connecting with people who friends who I was like, oh, I should reconnect with these people and see what they're doing in the business world and growing my stuff there. But I came across during my SkillBridge internship this one company, and I asked a couple of people like, oh, hey, are they still doing stuff? And my mentor in that internship was like, yeah, I know some people over there. I used to work there and they're pretty great. I was like, okay. It was KeyW. They had just gotten bought by Jacobs. And I had seen a guy just get hired as the VP for federal education for Jacobs. And I was like, oh, saw that on LinkedIn, asked about it. And my mentor's like, yeah, he's a great guy. Naval Academy grad. I'm an Air Force Academy grad. He's a little bit older than me, but I reached out and was like, hey, I saw some of your stuff while I was doing my internship over here at 6th Gen. Looks like your team is knows what they're doing. And he's like, yeah, same with 6th Gen. I was like, I'm about to be done here with my internship. I'm getting out at the end of the year. Is there any chance you guys might need a cyber-minded program manager with an MBA and who knows how to teach a little bit? Because I had just gotten done with a special operations school for 2 years in the Air Force. And he was like, well, send me your resume. I'll see if we have anything. And then 2 days later, the recruiter talked to me and was like, I think you could be an instructor. Like, okay, I can teach. Sure, I'm good at that. Talked to the my manager the next day during an interview, and the next day I had an offer. Because I put out there like what my background was, what I had to offer. Do you need someone in my position? And made that initial connection of, hey, you guys are doing great work. He recognized the work we had been doing, and my LinkedIn was enough that when he went and looked at it, he was like, oh, okay, this guy's not crazy psycho. If you set yourself up right, and then you go into those situations knowing what you're offering, just like Jay said, setting yourself up with truth, like Jonathan and Ian mentioned, then you maximize your potential going out of there. Does that make sense?
Josh, I think you made a ton of great points, and just a couple that I'd love to reiterate too. I think doing your pre-work before you make the connection, I think that's very important. You're hearing that from a couple of folks, Jay. I think pre-work both in the virtual environment, your LinkedIn profile. Make sure you put your interests, look like a legitimate, skilled person, which I'm sure everybody is here. Don't overthink the job that you're being hired for, because I'm sure we all have stories on how you think you're going in this direction, and then your skills end up leading you down a path that you never would have dreamed, and you're wildly successful. I meet people over and over again. The last couple of people that we've hired, I will tell you, in a cyber fraud enabled services, like that's what our focus is, have not been fraud people. They've been unbelievably passionate, very smart, hungry people that want to do good work, that know who they are, and aren't afraid to have courage. I mean, that's the big thing that I see that differentiates for me a lot of folks is I can't tell you how many. I'm just like sure everybody here. You get a ton of LinkedIn requests. You get a kind of requests to kind of meet. That happens, but I would say less than half of them actually follow through as you open up. And the ones that do, some of them are just meeting you to try to get a job, and they're shotgunning the industry, and they go, and you can tell just in the conversation, you're just one stop for them, versus the ones that come in and end up being, doing well, is the ones that are just as invested in the conversation as the person taking the time out for you to have that conversation. So I just think treat your network, treat interactions and introductions like gold. Make sure that if somebody's taking their time out from a schedule and they have a position of that they can help you, mentor you, offer you a job, all those kind of things, make sure that you understand that, it shouldn't just be, especially if one of your close friends are opening up their network to you, make sure you're honoring that with your time, and don't accept the meeting just to kind of check a box or fill something, because everyone's busy and there's a lot of really kind of important conversations that need to happen. So I would just make sure that we're talking networks. It's very important. Your network's important to you. Everyone's network's important. So be prepared and do a little work up front. I think some great points are being made. So anyway, I just wanted to add to that one.
And I'll let Jonathan talk, and if he'd like to jump in there as well. On that point, I did ForwardBlock Foundation's career readiness program as part of kind of what I wanted to learn a lot more about networking and everything. Kelly Flaherty's here. She's actually in a breakout session now if you want to learn about ForwardBlock. And one of my mentors in the program taught me about Thank You Fridays. And like you said, people opening it up, treat it gold. And it was just take time every Friday and just send quick thank you notes to people who've helped you out in your network. Goodness, that has done a lot for me. And I think it's just a cool thing to give back. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I'm going to tie back something that we were talking about earlier with the connections to this, and that is that people we someone said that we're in the people business, and I absolutely agree. And we as people like to connect with others. Look at the growth of social media. Look at how interconnected we are when it comes to that. Something that I've learned over the years, people love to talk about themselves. So, be engaged, ask somebody a question. Hey, tell me about your role. What is it that you actually do? Because my job description, what my job title is, and I think a lot of folks have this, unless your job title is CEO, program manager, there's a lot of job titles that don't necessarily relate to, or people are like, well, what is it you actually do here? And it's not a question that's said in an offensive way. It's just hey, I really want to kind of understand, what does your job title actually mean? Ask people questions, ask them, do the homework, ask people questions about the roles that they're in, ask about the roles that you fit into the company. I think that's something that's really neat. The informationals, I've been with Microsoft for going on a year now, and have looked at a couple other places that I'm interested in. I grew up gaming on the original Nintendo Entertainment System. And, I never in a million years thought I would work for Xbox, but I got into Microsoft and started looking. I'm like, hey, they have program management jobs that kind of, are exactly what, I've done in my previous life. So I started having informational. So I've talked to Xbox program managers just because I wanted to see what's it like over there in that world. But yeah, take advantage of, I don't want to say take advantage in a negative way, but take advantage of your network. Reach out, talk to folks, ask them questions. People love to share.
Hey, Jonathan, your LinkedIn is about to blow up here, if I had to guess. The minute you said that you work with Xbox.
Not yet. It's still on the horizon, but I would.
There you go. I like it.
Love to.
I'll give you a little plug there, Jonathan. I think PC Game Pass is only $1 for your first month if you'd like to join, which is actually a really great thing. But I love my PC Game Pass. I really appreciate the conversation. I kind of want to loop it back because we only have so many minutes left to some of the feedback I've gotten from students so far. First, I got one, and I won't say their name unless they may be okay with it, but that told me that they reached out to an IT ops manager at the company they work for, looking for just advice on how to transition from their current job into IT. Told him a little bit about his qualifications, just asked for advice. Late on Friday, this last Friday, and on Tuesday of this week, he has a job being held from in the IT department. So really great success story just from a current student. So I think that's really cool. I think a lot of this has been, and 78% of our student population obviously comes from a military or first responder background, and we've been focused there, which is awesome. But one of the questions I've gotten a few times is, what about if I'm not military? Are there networking resources out there for me? And similar, I got two messages from our law enforcement personnel who are not military, who historically I know struggle because there's not as many resources and like nonprofit organizations in like a transition sense and getting out of law enforcement as there is for the military. Um, so for those of you that like to speak on that, if you're non-military, some networking tips on resources, and or law enforcement as well, who again might struggle in where they're looking for in terms of advice and resources.
If I might, so there's some great communities that I'm a part of. You already mentioned Gerald Dozier earlier today, but Simply Cyber is a great community. I'm one of their Discord moderators as well as the YouTube moderator for Jerry, and Cyber Insecurity. Neil would be mad at me if I didn't mention them. Couple great organizations there. Since we are cyber focused here, it sounds like Black Hills Information Security has a great space for cyber folks. And I also want to throw out Cyber Mentor Dojo is I don't know if it was put together by JJ Davies, but it's he's heavily involved there, and it's another mentoring, not military, just for whoever, but it is based kind of in that cyber realm. So my law enforcement guys, I used to teach at the Defense Cybercrime Center's Cyber Training Academy. So we had a lot of agents come through ground into cyber. Because we'll do some great work in as analysts and forensic investigators, if that's where you're headed, but you can really move into anything if you're open to it. Hit me up and I would love to. I've gotten like 11 connection requests on LinkedIn, so I can point you to places if you ask. Feel free to ask.
A lot of that is kind of in my field also. I deal with a lot of law enforcement, former law enforcement. I've hired many of them at all the banks. I would tell you that there's a wonderful career ahead for you if anybody's in that or has any interest in that type of even, military that has that bend. There is a significant opportunity for it's another profession, just like cyber profession, that we can't find enough professionals that have that interest of fighting financial crimes, especially. So there's a podcast put on by a good friend of mine, Robert Norlander, former IRS investigator. It's called Fraud Fighter Podcast. I'll put that in the chat here. Check out my nonprofit, The Noble. I would tell you we interact with all branches of law enforcement and try to help place them at different financial institutions around the country. There's also a couple other associations, IAFCI. I'll be speaking there in a couple of weeks. A lot of other organizations I think that could help that transition out of law enforcement. It's another great field to be coming from, and definitely should not be, especially if you want to use the skills in the private sector, you should not have any challenges at all finding a place to land. There's a lot of great places. I think the biggest thing that I find that folks struggle coming out of military and law enforcement is not having the understanding of opening your aperture. What are the different places that need somebody from former military, former law enforcement? How do your skills translate? And I would say that comes through networking. It comes through a little research. It comes through hearing things like a conversation here. I talked about opening up a cyber and fraud center. Well, if anybody's in law enforcement and you happen to be in a Tennessee area, give us a buzz. We're going to be hiring a bunch of people to fight cyber fraud and fraud. So I would tell you, as you kind of understand, your skills will translate to jobs that you didn't even know existed. So definitely be inquisitive and ask questions like everybody's talked about. Meet some folks, ask some questions, get involved, attend podcasts like this. That's how you understand the real world of where the jobs sit. A lot of you have a lot of great skills. So I'll put that in the chat here, a couple of these things.
I would say if you can connect the dots with it, it's so there's groups, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups. You just have to do your research, Discords, different organizations. You want to make sure you have a list and identify that. And it also goes to the same thing. Like I know a lot of people, you get the training or you get the certification, right? But you don't have experience. And so that's the one thing that you're worried about trying to break into tech or break into cyber. But there's other opportunities as well to do that in other organizations like Hack the Box, Try to Hack Me, Capture the Flag, Lido Code, Let Code. I think it's Let Code. Yeah, Let Code. So those are like different things that you can do, but you have to actively take control of where you're going, right? And so if you don't have anyone in your network, there's going to be events that you can attend. You can attend Black Hat, you can attend different events, meet people. Don't play the background, just meet people, talk to folks. join groups and see what's out there. And you never know how that pans out. And then also make sure you take advantage of leveling up your skill set. And when you do that, obviously you'll be connected to a lot of folks that's in that same community that you can connect with.
I really appreciate everybody's time tonight. We're 2 minutes over, but we did start 5 minutes late. So I want to give an opportunity for all of our panelists to give any closing thoughts if you'd like to. Before I do, I want to reiterate these folks that are talking, the resources they're sharing, their LinkedIn profiles. If you want to reach out to them, take advantage of that if that's what they're offering, because there's a world of value there as it relates to networking. Before we start our next panel, any closing thoughts from our panelists, whether it's about networking, what you do, or just advice to the CWCC students? Now's your opportunity.
A great book is Never Eat Alone. And one of the keys that he mentions in the beginning of the book, I think it was CMO for Booz Allen at one point, is that it's not a zero-sum game. So you can connect with people, you can connect to other people, and it never detracts. If you can find someone that it adds value and point them to more people, like that does not detract from you. So feel free to find resources, share resources, and all that ever does is helps everyone. It's kind of a neat thing about networking there. So don't be scared. Be scared, but be courageous. Reach out, do the connection piece. You got to be a little bit vulnerable in order to do that. You might get rejected, but here's the thing. In the end, we're all grown-ups at this point, and we want to help one another. So if people are out there putting themselves out there and they've made it so you can hit the connect button, take the chance, send them a note, and add value to their life, and it'll add value to yours too.
That was a home run as far as I'm concerned, Josh. Great job. The only thing I would add, and this is just more for me and personal platform and why I work, is live a life of purpose. It's not just about paying your mortgages or paying your car payment. We all have them, right? It's not about your cell phone bill. It's what's the most interesting is when you sit down and talk to somebody and there's a reason they do what they do. So explore that in yourself and don't be afraid to pursue a career, pursue an interest that supports what it is that makes you tick. It's a beautiful world. It's a great life. It's too short, and we have a lot of opportunity to have impact on and making the world a little better. So I know a lot of you have already done that. And so I thank you very much for your service. You being courageous, you could teach me about something about courage, but at the same time, don't lose courage when you start going and talking to, even CEOs or heads of companies. Be courageous there, because honestly, I'll tell you, it's amazing how little a lot of that group doesn't get reached out to. And so swing for the fences, swing big, especially in our country here, where we just value the service that a lot of you have put in. Have your stuff together, do your homework, but go out there and believe in yourself. And so anyway, live a life of purpose. That's it. Thank you again for inviting me.
Thanks all. I don't want to cut us off here, but I do want to get on to the next panel. If the four of you, Jonathan, Jay, Josh, and Ian, if you are willing, I did make a breakout session for y'all, but do not feel obligated. I know you got to get on with your evening if you got stuff going on, but if you need to hop in there for a second, I made those for you, so feel free to hop in that if anybody wants to have one-on-one conversations. But if not, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it this evening. Good stuff here. And again, just thank you on behalf of the CWCT team. So I want to keep rolling just in the interest of time this evening to our 7:15, now 7:20. Luckily, we did leave 15 minutes at the end of tonight's evening. The panels are supposed to be done at 8:45, but it is towards 9 because in general, we end up going 5 to 10 minutes over these panels. And often it's a good thing because we got good stuff going on. So our part 2 of tonight's evening, we're really excited for. I'm going to go get and again turn it over to Steve Ryder just to kind of introduce kind of the subject matter of what we're talking about when we say this title of cybersecurity in different industries. So Steve, if you don't mind, go ahead and kind of get us rolling here.
It helps when you unmute, right?
Dan.
Great session. I'm really excited. And if you like part 1, you'll love panel 2, right? Can you guys identify a single industry that is not affected by cyber? I'll give you a second to think about that. You know, tonight we're going to hear from the financial services. We're going to hear from utilities, healthcare. We're going to hear from the defense agencies, transportation, etc. You're going to hear some great messaging. You know, according to MSN Money, last summer, they said global cybercrime costs are expected to increase 15% on a yearly basis over the next 3 years to reach 10.5 trillion. That's with a T, trillion dollars by then, or a ton of money. About 40% of that is in the United States. There is not a single industry which has not been affected by cyber criminals, nor a single company, or for that matter, an individual. The question is not if you will be affected, but when you got hit, how bad was it? And most important, what are you going to do about it in the future? These are questions CEOs, board of directors are asking today, and they have to because they have fiduciary responsibilities. So speaking to CIOs and other IT leaders across the nation, the most serious issue that face today is where to find qualified talent to fill the 714,000, yes, 700, almost a quarter, 750,000 open jobs just in the United States alone. We have a diverse panel with an amazing level of practical experience who will want to share this evening with you. Are you ready for them? I said, are you ready? Let's go with it, Steve.
Love it, Steve. Thanks for the energy and thanks for the intro. Super excited for this panel. As a reminder to the participants and students that are out there, if you at the top right of your screen click view, drop down to speaker view, it kind of makes it a little bit more holistic while you're watching these panel discussions. So again, from asset management, incident management, security controls, or even education and awareness in this industry, cyber can come in a lot of different forms across different industries. So today we're hearing from a few different leaders. First off, we've got Michael Young. Thank you so much for coming back with us. Michael's a great partner to our program. He is the Senior Vice President of Global Information Security at Bank of America. He's a former Marine cyberspace officer and has his Doctor of Science in Computer Science from Colorado Tech. We got Todd McCarter. Todd is the Director of Cybersecurity Engagement for TVA and has been a friend of the CWCT program since we started the virtual job fairs. His deep technical skills are complemented by his strong managerial capabilities. Welcome, Todd. Thanks so much for having us again. Jeremiah Grant, Senior Vice President and Information Security Officer at Novant Health, close to us here in Charlotte, or at least some of your hospitals are. Got his master's from App State. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight, Jeremiah. We've got Jason Jarnigan, or excuse me, Supervisory Special Agent Jarnigan, with cybersecurity at the FBI at Knoxville, Tennessee's field office. Formerly worked in the FBI's Violent Crimes Against Children Squad. So very, very excited to have you tonight, Jason. Thanks for and giving us your time this evening. And lastly, we have Aziz Benjwami, and Aziz is the Chief Technology Officer at Steam Logistics and the Chief Tech Officer for several companies prior, has his MBA from University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. So to our panelists tonight, thank you so much for giving us your time. I'd like to first ask you all, and Chrissy, you can, thank you so much. If you want to go around, I'll start with Michael Young. If you don't mind just introducing yourself like we did the first panel, and then honestly, just tell us a little bit about kind of what cyber means in your industry, if you can. So just a little about yourself, and then again, what cyber kind of looks like in your industry.
Sure. Thank you very much, Steve, and for everyone else and for my fellow panelists. Appreciate you having me at the forum this evening. And so a little bit about me, as you mentioned, I am a retired cyberspace officer, and I also work in cybersecurity in the financial industry. So I've had, honestly, a glorious opportunity to see cybersecurity from two, very different areas, but with equaling levels of seriousness and severity in both cases. Specifically, cybersecurity is an issue for any industry out there. But in financial world, I think there's two things that make it somewhat unique. First of all, money now is not gold in a vault somewhere. Money is literally zeros and ones in a server somewhere. And so for our global financial system to remain solid and salient, we need to make sure that those zeros and ones are protected. And so I think that, like many industries, but it's a higher calling to make sure the global economic system and the American economic system is working well. And two, because we have the money and the finances, we tend to get a double whammy of cyber criminals who are looking to, do sorts of fraud at every scale from small, medium, large. And because we're representative of the US financial system, we also have nation state threats, which commonly affect us. So there are other industries that is true, but in the financial services industry, we get that double whammy. And so generally speaking, some of the biggest investments in cybersecurity in terms of staffing and manpower and technology have been in the financial services industry. And so it's something that we've been able to get ahead of compared to some of the other industries. And appreciate, Steve, you having me.
Likewise, Michael, and I want to come back to some of the things you just said later in the session. But again, thank you so much for spending your time with us here this evening. Todd McCarter, if you don't mind, same question to you. If you don't mind talking a little bit about what cybersecurity looks like in your industry, and again, a little bit about yourself, a brief intro, if you don't mind.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure where everybody's located. I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee. I fell into cyber by accident. When I graduated high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. This was about the time, a little bit after Top Gun came out. Navy looked kind of like a cool job to do, so I joined the Navy and had no idea what that was going to mean. And they offered me this position of a cryptologist. So I'm like, all right, I can spell that at least, and that sounds kind of cool. So that's kind of how I got started in cyber many, many years ago, which that journey led me to TVA. And TVA stands for Tennessee Valley Authority. In case you're not familiar with us, we are the nation's largest public power company. And we're more than just a power company. We are also responsible for the Tennessee River and navigation, flood control, and all the things that go along with doing that. And then also economic development. That was really the part of the foundation for how TVA got started, was bringing some opportunities for a region of the country that was really lacking in power, lacking in good paying jobs and other things also. So this is a company or a federal company that prides itself on our mission and what we do, bringing power, outdoor activity, outdoor fun, and economic development to the 10 million people that make up the Tennessee Valley. And it's not just Tennessee. We're 7 states, parts of 7 states in the Southeast. So we've got a little of Kentucky, South Carolina, or North Carolina, just a little bit of Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. And our mission on the power side is about power, right? So it's keeping the lights on. Well, where all is power needed? Certainly in hospitals. There's some defense industries in the areas of where we serve. So it's making sure that they're able to function and protect our nation, do what they're there for. But when you bring it closer to home, it's making sure that light, when you flip that switch, the light comes on, that your refrigerator is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And especially in these dog days of summer, that air conditioner is blowing like we all hope that it will be. So at TVA, it is about protecting our grid. Our part in the interconnection, the way that our electric grid is set up, if one area has a significant issue, it doesn't affect just that area, it affects everything. So it's protecting the grid. It's also, like I said before, flood control. It's not just being able to get in your boat and go out and enjoy a trip down the river or out in the lake. It really is about flood control and making sure that we're able to protect those low-lying areas that in the past, when TVA wasn't able to do the things that they're able to do today, had significant monetary damage from that. So the challenge is we sort of live or work in an industry that is very appealing to those who want to disrupt the electric grid, but also because we're a federal entity, those who may not like the values of the United States may see us as another opportunity for them to leverage whatever message they want to get out there. So very happy to meet everyone tonight, answer any questions that we can, but I'm looking forward to this opportunity.
Thanks so much, Todd. And to all the folks that are listening in, we've got some different industries focused there. Michael is representing financial services, and Todd, even though TVA has a myriad of different things that y'all touch, the utility sector as well. And I'd like to introduce Jeremiah. Jeremiah is representing the healthcare industry, if you will. If you don't mind just telling us a little bit about what you do. And again, kind of same question, what does cybersecurity look like in your industry?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing well tonight. Yeah, Jeremiah Grant. I have the privilege of serving as our group chief information security officer. What that means practically is I lead our cybersecurity enterprise-wide strategy for Novant Health. Novant Health is a healthcare management entity based in Winston, North Carolina, but we actually have hospitals and clinics from the coast of North Carolina down to Georgia, a little bit in Virginia. So we kind of spread the Southeast area. Cybersecurity and healthcare. Wow, it's been quite a journey. I wanted to share a couple of things that maybe folks haven't thought of when you think about cybersecurity and healthcare. You know, healthcare, first and foremost, the mission in healthcare is quality and safety is paramount. And, you know, and many times it is about life and death, and it is about positive outcomes for patients. And when I moved into cybersecurity and healthcare, one of the things that drew me to healthcare is the mission. And specifically, that cybersecurity is not just about the traditional confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. It's about the potential for cyber impact, having kinetic impact on a patient. You know, with the mushrooming of IoT and programmable logical control units and biomedical clinical engineering devices, there are a lot of unique aspects for cybersecurity and healthcare where we have just numerous vendors bringing devices into environments that are connected to patients, but they're also connected to networks. And in many ways, you know, a decade or to 15 years ago, we saw like the multifunction printer revolution, where everybody went from local USB printers and local ports to using network printers. And I remember seeing that industry transform, and you had a lot of folks who knew how to change toner and fix mechanical rollers. They knew nothing about IT and nothing about how the connectedness of these devices worked within an environment. And we're seeing the same thing with a lot of IoT and a lot of biomedical and clinical engineering devices right now. And so that's an area of focus, and just being able to ensure that layers of defenses are in place to protect patient safety. Like I said, beyond just the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data, which is most commonly heard of in cybersecurity. And if you've been watching any of your news feeds at all, you'll notice that there's about 2 cybersecurity breaches announced per day in healthcare across the US. So there's a lot going on in the healthcare space. I'll stop short there because I'm sure we got a lot more to get into, Steve.
Yeah, and then people already have questions they're sending me. So thanks, Jeremiah. I appreciate you being here and representing your industry at Novant as well. So I want to go on to Jason. So Jason, same question to you. What does it look like in your industry with the FBI? And you know, a little bit about yourself and your career, if you don't mind, sir. Thanks for your time tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to speak with everyone here. And you know, I've been in this line of work for about 25 years now. Started out as a electronics engineer with the National Security Agency, doing that 7 years before cyber crimes. And for the most of my career, I've worked in digital forensics and computer security in some capacity or the other one. Either it's developing new tools to gain access to protected data systems, or gaining access to hardened devices, things like that. But what I've seen through the action of what we've been through here in the last 25, 27 years is that there's a lot of complexities with, of course, data sets getting larger, and they're also more complex. And we deal with that every day. And coupled with the data in motion that we deal with, you know, cybersecurity threats that affect every type of genre of any type of business you could think of. So online here we have healthcare, we have our production. All of those are impacted significantly. We have been seeing trends and patterns of things that we look at FBI that are somewhat concerning. So Our role here at the FBI as a cyber task force is to identify threats, produce intelligence upon threats based upon information gleaned from the intelligence community or active investigations, and also to enforce criminal type remedies to certain violations. So a large degree of things across the profile of almost any type of business. And we also look at, of course, personal losses, financial losses, and nation state actors that are thwarting security vulnerabilities and gaining access to some research institutions and things of that nature. So things right now, but certainly look forward to taking questions later and talking more about things we're dealing with.
Excellent, Jason. Thank you so much for that intro, and thanks for your time again tonight. Really appreciate it. I want to come back to a couple of things as well. Aziz, thank you so much for your time as well. Same question to you. What does cyber look like in your industry? And just kind of brief introduction to who you are and what got you to where you're at.
Great. Thank you, Steve. I'm Aziz Panjwani. I'm the CTO for Steam Logistics, a company local to Chattanooga, Tennessee, specializing in the freight transportation industry. A recurring theme that you're hearing from all of us is really how critical technologies and cyber in particular are to various aspects of our lives, as Jason was alluding to just a moment ago. Similarly, a lot of people don't think about trucking and ocean steamship liners as being critical to their lives. But if you think about how that Amazon box got to you from its origin of manufacture somewhere in Asia, potentially all the way to your door, those are the types of things that Steam is involved with. And being in the supply chain, as you've heard in the news, we're probably quite a target by a lot of people, especially malicious actors, on soil and offshore. So in our space at Steam, cybersecurity goes beyond just, not just, but it goes beyond firewalls and EDRs and XDRs, but also into application development layers. So I get the responsibility of kind of overseeing all of that and working with my team to make sure we're in a good place.
Thanks, Aziz. That's great. I think I'll kind of, again, appreciate your time this evening. And as y'all kind of can see, we've got 5 different industries that are out here tonight. So my next question is kind of along those lines. So kind of thinking about the industry that you work in, we have a very large workforce gap in cybersecurity. We know that. Steve kind of touched on that before. When I started this position with this program, cyberseek.org is the one we're always referencing, how many job openings there are in cybersecurity. It was like 520,000. Now it's over 700,000. So even though a program like this, Fed-funded workforce development program, we're trying to bridge that gap, it still is increasing. So I guess my question is, with that large workforce gap in cyber, why is that a problem in your industry? And is your organization doing anything kind of to deal with that issue? How is your industry looking to solve the issue of a lack of talented and trained professionals in cybersecurity? And again, that's open to anyone on the panel.
I'll jump in first. Michael Young here. So it is a massive concern, and it has become more complicated in the post-pandemic world with the great resignation or the great reshuffling or whatever buzzword you want to use. But people moving locations and jobs, as their lives were turned upside down. So it's a massive issue, and it's only going to get worse. There's a few different ways to get out of it. One is programs like this, where we can, bring people to the field, through education and other fashion. The second is we can widen the aperture of who we, bring into the field. There's a constant debate of, do you need to have computer knowledge first? Do you need to have this skill set first? And so I think we need to continue to refine that. But I think all of us could do well to open our minds to allow more people to join from all walks of life. And then third, technology has a role to play. Automation is going to be a major part of industry and certainly cybersecurity in the future. And so I think we need to invest not only in bringing more people to the field, but also, the automation and technology to do the jobs that are repetitive in nature or deal with massive data sets and use human beings to augment those things. And specifically in the financial industry, we have many programs that are attempting to address this. Everything from internships for college students to, people leaving the military to even people with no training whatsoever that just have a high school degree, and we bring them on board to attempt to deepen the bench for cybersecurity. So that's what it looks like in my side of the neighborhood.
I'll share real quick. I think even if we were not innovating in the power sector, we still wouldn't have enough cyber people to keep up with that. And 4 years ago, so there's a lot of change.
Hey, Todd, I'm so sorry. We're just losing you on your internet connection there. So I don't want to cut you off by any means, but that's not just my internet, is it? Okay. Yeah,
No.
Todd, we kind of lost you there a little bit. I want to come back to you and give you an opportunity. But if anyone else
Things going on
wants to jump
power.
in.
I can add a couple of thoughts while we wait. I think what was interesting about the pandemic is that it changed the boundaries of work from being bound by a facility and a corporate network to how do I secure this machine, whether it's a laptop, a desktop, or a mobile phone, from anywhere in the world that this person might be sitting to stay safe and perform their job duty. I think similarly, it has expanded the availability of where you can recruit individuals from. So you're no longer bound by geographic boundaries, which I think is outstanding, especially considering a 750,000 person shortage in the space. But if you're passionate about what you do and you're a constant learner, chances are, you don't have to be in a densely populated place to find a company who's got a job opening. You can really be participating and keeping an environment safe from where you are. And I think a lot of organizations are embracing that and understanding the value of finding talent elsewhere.
On the Bureau's side, what we're FBI, we have expanded the cybersecurity investigators across all field offices. So we have new positions and new roles, and we fill those both with internal candidates and external. I will say that it's been a challenge in the federal government in recent years with maintaining and retaining, I should say, security talent, as there's so many vendors and job opportunities outside of the government. As appealing as it is to work for the government in many cases, sometimes the monetary or other incentives are not always conducive with what's available out there, and we're having trouble competing with that. But I can say that given what we're doing, we're definitely emphasizing training internally, externally, and emphasizing the need for cybersecurity positions across all 56 of our field and headquarters.
I'll jump in real quick as well and just share. Yeah, it is a challenge in our organization and in healthcare in general. The talent shortage, being able to retain, recruit, specifically for a not-for-profit healthcare organization, similar to what Jason was just sharing. We have challenges competing for talent. We pay fair, but we don't pay top dollar, and so we have to find talent that is also invested in and interested in the mission, who's invested in and interested in the culture that we can offer, and hopefully establish a relationship that's going to mutually benefit both parties. And we really look at people first in our organization, and I think a lot of organizations represented here do the same thing. So it's not going to all be about the money. It's really going to be about challenging opportunities, being able to work in a meaningful environment. I heard a panelist on the previous panel say, live your life with purpose and have your values. And at some point in the cybersecurity field, I can guarantee you're going to be able to pay your bills. It's really about what are you working for and what's driving you. So that's one thing. What is Novant Health doing about it? And what do I see healthcare doing about it? Well, I'll tell you, I've been at Novant Health 10 and a half years and have had the privilege to build a program from the ground up. So we went from literally 3 people to 65, and now we're at 75 this year, dedicated to cybersecurity, which is just an unheard of journey within healthcare for an organization of our size. What we did at first is we thought we're going to find a bunch of senior cybersecurity talent and we're going to hire them and bring them in. And after 2 years and 200 interviews, I didn't have really any senior cybersecurity talent. I had 2 folks that I was able to bring on. So we changed strategies and we insourced pretty much all of our capability. And so our cybersecurity incident response center, Eyes on Glass security operations center, is our talent pool and it's our stream for all of our other roles. And so we bring a lot of student team members on. We bring a lot of technical youth folks on. We bring a lot of folks just like yourselves who are transitioning maybe from one career to another or moving in and getting certifications and expressing interest in the field. And then we invest heavily into training internally. So, we use external trainers and we have internal training programs as well. And that served us well. And I think that I see a lot of other organizations doing the same thing, finding that can't just go buy top dollar talent these days. It's so difficult to attract. And so I see a lot of training programs popping up within organizations and then also, being provided by third parties or vendors to organizations. So a big focus on training, I think, is important. And I'd encourage anyone who's looking for a role to ask about that when you go join an organization. What are you going to do to help continue to invest into me and my skill set and help me grow in this field?
And you're also kind of giving us interview tips, right? Almost like when you're getting interviewed, you're also interviewing them, sort of deal.
That's
But
right.
also, how I've heard that different industries and companies are kind of trying to come up with creative kind of pathways to kind of address that workforce gap. We'll come back to that, Todd. I know your internet there was something was going on. So sorry about that, but I want to give you an opportunity to be able to share there on that note.
Okay, I'll be real quick so that we can get to the next question.
Sorry.
The power industry is going through a shift. When the grid was developed 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, there wasn't the internet. And if you needed to spin up or spin down a generator, you picked up the phone and you had a person standing there and they pushed the button, they flipped the breaker. It's not like that anymore. We're more and more becoming the opportunity to be centrally managed. In many cases, that's there. But our industry, TVA specifically, we're looking at ways to innovate. That innovation is bringing in, like Jeremiah talked about, IoT, and there's ways to, how can we get a sensor on a generator to predict if there's going to be a failure with that? That brings in all kinds of issues. So even if we had not innovated, even if we were doing what we were 5 years ago, we still didn't have enough people to keep up. But all the new technology that's coming to enable us to be more efficient with what we do is bringing in additional issues that we got to have people to do. So with one of the things that we're doing at TVA is we recognize, I love college football. If you're an all-star football player and a senior in high school, the colleges are not waiting till you're a senior in high school to come and talk to you, right? They're looking at you your freshman year, your sophomore year. They're establishing those relationships earlier, so that when the person is ready to pick a college, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to this college because I've got a really good relationship, or they talk to me and they understand me. So we've made specific efforts to get out into our communities at the high school level and middle school, elementary school, and start talking to them. Granted, you got different messages to share, but to try to light a fire of interest for them that maybe we'll benefit from, maybe another company will benefit from, because these people are thinking about cyber and that career that they're going to have for the rest of their life, or as long as they want to work. But that's one of the specific things that we're doing, along with other things that have been talked about.
Well, I'm pleased to hear kind of from different perspectives on how to kind of tackle that workforce gap in cybersecurity. To kind of shift to a more open-ended question. I know when I mentioned before, I did a career readiness program, and it was for like veterans who are trying to kind of explore different industries. When you're looking at cybersecurity, and this is a question I get a lot from a lot of our students in CWCT, they know they want to get a cyber job, right? Depending on what role it might be or exactly what it is, they know they want to get into cyber. They're doing a cyber program. But when you ask them, what industry are you kind of interested in? That's a question I was not even expecting to get. What industry am I interested in? I don't know. I don't want to do cyber. Whoever gives me a good job. So I think there's, and you've kind of talked on that before, and Jeremiah kind of referenced something from the networking session. You want to be authentic. You want to care about the kind of the work you're doing. So, and that's kind of a tough thing to tackle when you're saying like, what industry do I want to get in? What's going to be a good fit for me? So I think the best way to do that, in my question to the panel, is cybersecurity can be kind of as basic as I wrote, multi-factor authentication and encryption of devices, but it can get exponentially larger from there. So if you're willing to share kind of an interesting case study or something that happened with your organization, I know you might not want to share if it's a ransomware deal, and Jason's got probably plenty of stories about that, but do you have any interesting case studies or stories about what cybersecurity might look like in your industry to someone that is a potential applicant who's looking for a job? What kind of projects am I actually going to be working on? So again, do you have any interesting case studies or stories about what cybersecurity actually looks like for someone working there in your industry? Again, open to the panel.
I can start off from what we're looking at. And again, we're looking at things from a perspective in the law enforcement side. We're usually looking at things after they have happened, unfortunately, but more and more with the FBI and other agencies, we do share intelligence and threat information proactively. So we're meeting with a lot of people. But as far as the cybersecurity type roles, we have computer scientists that are looking at seized data, things of that sort. We have digital experts, forensics examiners that do software extractions from subject computers, will assist the agents in search warrants. And of course, we also have special agents that have cybersecurity backgrounds that work on seizing digital evidence, conducting net flow conducting an analysis of log files, things of that nature to find violations. So we have a little bit different perspective than some of the other teams do, but some of them are identical. I mean, obviously, if we're looking for threats, those are common roles that we across the different industries, but definitely those are some things that we look at.
So Steve, I was going to jump in, and it's funny you talk about what industry, because I've worked at Bank of America for 15 years. And if you'd asked me if I'd ever worked for a stuffy bank, I would have laughed at you when I was younger. So be open to things that are different. So I was actually a CTO of a startup that went under, and so just had to go get a job and ended up at Bank of America. And so say yes to industries that may not interest you. And I actually did not know how interesting cybersecurity was going to be in the financial world. And now I'm a believer, and it's a really interesting and innovative place to be. So be open to other industries as you move forward with your career. But one case I was going to throw out is, the challenges constantly evolve. And so one thing we've been seeing lately that's kind of interesting from a fraud side and a cybercrime side is the anti-phishing efforts of the industries. Everybody's industry has gotten much better. The education, the technology, multiple layers of defense. So we've actually seen an interesting shift where people are moving away from sending, phishing in email and moving to SMS. So we've had to actually create an entire team and an entire function to focus on messaging or smishing, based fraud. So a big case study of the threat evolves, and then you have to go learn something new. So being a cybersecurity person, I didn't know anything about telecommunications, but I had to go learn things about how SMS worked in order to build a team in order to help battle that threat that we all see on our phones and are annoyed with every day. And so it's interesting across the industries to follow the evolution of the threat as part of your career.
I think it's really cool, Michael. And as an audience member, I'm always on YouTube, and I always find myself watching the scammers, or kind of like trying to find the scammers. And often it's like a Zelle sort of SMS scam through often Bank of America for whatever reason. But that's been kind of common recently on YouTube of like how to kind of, find that out and everything. But again, it's kind of an interesting pathway to do it, but don't want to interrupt the other panel members if you want to jump in.
I've got one quick addition. I would equate cybersecurity specialists as excellent dot connectors. And I think you can use those intuitive dot connecting skills to also find an ideal workplace for yourselves. So if you have gone through years of study in the cyberspace, but you also know that, hey, I'm kind of good at this programming thing, or I love data science and reporting, you can probably use those dots, connect them, and find an opportunity that allows you to express both of those talents versus getting locked into one or the other. And there are many organizations that would welcome someone that can wear more than one hat. So anytime you have these passions and you love JSON formatted data and SIMs, maybe you should be looking at a security operations center. But if you are very much about, hey, I want to try to go catch this crook, then the FBI is calling. So there's so many of these things. Just follow your passions, try to connect the dots, and you'll land in the right role for yourself.
Yeah, folks may be well aware of this resource as part of this group, Steve, but the NICE Cybersecurity Workforce Framework is an excellent resource to go out and look at the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are aligned to the most common job roles and titles, and just do an honest self-assessment and take a look at what other soft skills and what other skills do you bring to the table that align with some of these roles, as well as what you've been training for, what certifications you've been receiving. It's just an excellent resource. We align all of our job roles, all of our job descriptions actually have the knowledge, skills, and abilities lifted out of the applicable areas for Novant Health. And so just to give you an idea of what kinds of roles you'll find within healthcare, I'm going to rattle them off. We have network security engineering, access security engineering, system security engineering, vulnerability analysts, cyber threat intelligence analysts, continuous monitoring analysts, that's eyes on glass, penetration testers, security architects, incident responders, risk analysts, governance, risk, and compliance folks. There's a wide swath of roles and specializations in cybersecurity. You're not going to find that many roles in all of healthcare. A lot of smaller healthcare organizations, if you are interested in looking at cybersecurity role in healthcare, I suggest looking at a medium to larger size healthcare management entity. A smaller community hospital is probably going to be a one-stop shop, someone who wears multiple hats. But that's not to say that's not a great role to get a lot of experience as well, because I did that myself, and you'll grow very, very quickly when you get a lot of pots on, or a lot of irons in the fire rather.
If okay, I'll share real quick. One that maybe people aren't thinking of as supply chain risk management. Typically, you think of the very technical things when you're thinking about cyber, and certainly for a good reason. But a good example from things that we do at TVA is also look at supply chain. There have been lots of supply chain attacks, and looking through the people we're about to do business with, what research can we find on them? Where are they headquartered? And sometimes when you start pulling that thread, you realize they're not located in the place that you think that they are, which may, implement or bring new challenges into your environment that you weren't ready for. So it's just one of those things that we do in cyber, along with the other jobs that were mentioned. But and one other thing I'll add real quick, we look for opportunities for people to get in a role that they like and that they enjoy and that they're challenged in. So rotations within our cyber team, we're really big advocates for that. So you come in, or maybe you get burned out. That's easy to do too. I'm just ready to go do something different. We've got opportunities for people to go and rotate and learn a new skill, or just bring their skills to a new role.
Well, thank you, Todd. I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate y'all kind of just not just sharing kind of some stories about what it can look like, but kind of as Michael said, it's be open too. I like that my question was kind of geared towards finding the industry you're interested in, but in a way, even from all of your perspectives, being open to what's going to be the right fit for you and the right culture and where you're going to be able to grow, I think is a great point to kind of land on. I want to give the panelists an opportunity. If one or two of you want to anchor the discussion in a moment, it's 8:01. We're running behind as we always do. And I'm looking at my team members. Steve, I think we need to extend these a little bit longer. These panel discussions have been excellent this evening, so we'll make them a little bit longer, maybe a full hour next time at the very least. I want to say thank you to the panelists so much for your time. If one of you wants to go ahead, and I'm stealing a term from my mentor, if you want to anchor the conversation, please do.
So anchoring is an interesting concept. Actually, that means ending the conversation. I wanted to address one question that Bill Worden asked in there around this same vein about, do you need to specialize or is it okay to be a generalist? And while you'll certainly get different answers from different people, to show my age, I used to read a sci-fi novelist, Robert Heinlein, and he used to say specialization is for insects. I think generalization is a very good skill. The more things that you try, you'll find something interesting. And one thing I constantly mentor young people joining the field is you're not stuck. It's not a train track. If you get down the road of forensics or down the road of supply chain, you can change. That's okay. So don't be scared to try things out. And then if you want to pivot, that's great. I think most of the people in our industry are open to trying something different, and there's a lot of different things to try in cybersecurity. So be open to new skills and new challenges.
It's just a perfect anchor to this panel. And again, thank you so much, Michael, for that. And thank you, Jason, Aziz, Todd, Jeremiah, and Michael for just your time this evening. We really appreciate hearing from experts that are in the field and representing kind of cross industries this evening. So thank you so much for your time. If you are willing and you're comfortable, you can feel free to share your LinkedIn or an email in the chat if you'd like for students to be able to reach out to you again, whatever you're comfortable with. I know that we have more questions we didn't have the time to answer, and we've got students that are interested maybe in your expertise as a professional and possibly in your company. So this is a great resource, and I would encourage students to utilize these resources. These are great people, and they're here because they're friends of our program and they want to help. These are resources that can help within your network. So again, thank you so much to this panel. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Steve once again to kind of introduce and kind of lay the groundwork for our third panel of the evening. Steve, go ahead and take it away, sir.
Hey, another great session, 2 in a row. And now we come to the last session, the last panel for our evening. Hopefully you're getting value out of these amazing conversations. Let us know via chat, let us know via email, send us via LinkedIn. Take time to meet with the speakers and others who are in the coffee room before you exit, or reach out to them over the next few days and build that network. We will next hear from firms who are seeking to staff some of those 714,000 open positions. We're blessed to have a great group of experts from such organizations, staffing firms, hiring agencies, large, mid-sized, regional, who bring so much experience and talent to your table tonight. You would be wise to listen intently, take lots of notes, ask questions, and follow up with these people as well. These firms are searching for talent, and they have real jobs out there. And do you know how to get their attention? Hey, I can't wait to hear from them. Back to you, Steve.
No, I think that's great, Steve. And honestly, the title for this panel, Resource Orgs, it's not a great title. It was the best I could come up with, but really it's hard to encompass kind of what Steve just said. And I think he did it really well. If you're looking to get a job in this field and you're wondering what's the best way to do that, these very well may be one of the best ways to do that, these groups that you're going to hear from tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody. Now, did I see Caleb? Did Caleb jump in here? Caleb, if you are here, welcome. Caleb Wilson is joining us from BrookSource. Caleb is a capture manager at BrookSource and was formerly an account executive for government partnerships. I don't see Caleb in here yet, but he may pop in here very quickly here. We have Donna Lowe representing MSI Workforce. Donna has 25 years in human resources experience, has held leadership roles at multiple companies. And is an experienced COO, speaker, and influencer. And again, thank you so much for your time this evening. We've got Alyssa Clopton, who is the VP of Client Solutions at Manpower Group. Thank you so much for your time this evening. We have Rebecca Chisholm, which she is a senior leader at Cisco's Network Academy and has a career in multiple organizations as the Director of Business Development. We have Katie Keller joining us again from Clearance Jobs, podcaster and writer, veteran advocate, and a recruiting expert here to share some really great wisdom like she did before. And lastly but not leastly, we have Sandy Kider, great resource and friend of our program representing Hire Heroes USA and is the manager of referral and training partners at Hire Heroes. So really excited for this panel. I'm going to say it again just because I think it's kind of cool on Zoom. If you're a student and you haven't done it yet, if you click in the top right of your screen, view, and then drop down to the speaker view, it makes the panel just that much better because you see exactly who's talking that's on the panel this evening. Chris, you go ahead and drop that. You already You're already on it. Thank you so much. So I'll go ahead and kind of just get us started in the way we have each panel this evening. I think it's helpful to just kind of go around the round table, introduce yourself, and then kind of as a segue to not only just tell us what you do for your organization, but kind of what brings you here talking to a cybersecurity certificate program. Kind of what's your touch with a student that is in our program, studying these cyber skills, doing these certifications, and is looking for a job? What's your kind of message to them? So where you know, kind of what do you do for your organization, and kind of why you think you might be here talking to our CWCT students? We'll go ahead and start with Donna. Why don't you get us started?
All right, thank you, Steve. I also have to give a shout out to Steve Ryder. He is pretty excited tonight, and his enthusiasm is felt across the board. So super excited. So Donna Christian Lowe, I'm the Chief Operations Officer for MSI Workforce Solutions. I serve as our Vice President of Human Resources. 25 years of HR. I've seen all the different changes. I've been there for them. So, you know, the biggest thing I'm here for, and side note, I am, as you said, an influencer on the radio and TV. And so it is all about people. Why am I here? We are here to hire. Honestly, if we could hire 200 to 300 cybersecurity specialists today, we would. So that's why I'm here. It's kind of easy, but I'm also here to help you connect with people. My mission and MSI's mission, and kind of what I tell people, I'm going to echo what Ian said earlier. It's about being authentic. We know the resume. The resume is going to tell us what you can do. We already know that, but it's about people. And I'm going to say, I want people who are going to try and strive to live their best life. So I know we're going to talk more about resources and things, but be authentic to yourself, know who you are, know your spiel. So today I am here to hopefully help you better connect, no matter your personality, type A, introvert. I think I can help you better connect, and it's not selling yourself, it's being yourself.
It's about time I did that eventually this evening, is talk while I'm muted. Donna, thank you so much for your time this evening. That's a great way to get us started. Alyssa, kind of shooting over to you, if you don't mind, same question. What do you do with your organization, and why do you think you're here talking to these CWCT students?
Yeah, sure. Thank you all so much. Wonderful to meet you, and thank you for having me. So Alyssa Clopton, and I'm VP of Client Solutions for Manpower Group. And so that means my role is all about finding talent like yourself and really helping you find meaningful, impactful work that we know that you love and are trying to continue to learn, because I feel right now cyber it's a scary place in so many ways for us. Right now, cyber is an area where we're all very sensitive to and very much aware of, and there is a lack of talent, and kind of, as you know, we're all alluding to, we need more folks like yourself to better understand and be all in, to be more passionate, to help us make this better place to be protected, safe for so many reasons. And it's also continuous. It's such an innovative area where it's not going away as far as job security. It's endless in terms of the possibilities that you're going to be able.
Well, Alyssa, thanks so much. I think we've got a little network connectivity deal. I don't think that's just me. Alyssa, I think you're back. Well, I'm sorry. We lost you there for a second, but I think it's a great introduction to the job security, and I appreciate you introducing yourself and what you do. And that's going to be a theme tonight. Is we keep talking about that 700,000. Now it's 700,000 open cybersecurity jobs, and like, how do we get into that? So again, thank you so much for your time, Alyssa. Sorry about that. Rebecca, welcome back. Thank you so much. I just sent out the newsletter today with our write-up about your Cisco Network Academy. So I owe you the little write-up I did, but great friend of our program. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Same question. What do you do for Cisco, and what brings you here talking to our CWCT students?
Sure. No. Hi. Thanks. I'm happy to be back, and I partner closely with Alyssa. I lead Networking Academy for the US and Canada, but that's not really why I'm here. I'm here just before I got on this webcast, I went to Google News and I saw Cisco admits corporate network compromised by gang with links to Lapsus. So apparently we were hacked back in May, and we kept it quiet, and then it was posted on the dark web. We all knew something was up because in 2 days, I got 4 password change requests. So I'm like, something is going on. And I called my friends at Talos, and they were like, not saying a word. So I thought something's up. So even a company like Cisco can get hacked. As careful as we are. And so there might be even more cyber openings than we had before this news came out. But I talked to a variety of governments, schools, Cisco customers, Cisco partners, you know, about getting jobs and skills, and we'll talk about that later. So I'm here to kind of share that there's somebody, the speaker earlier when I came on said there's no one path. It's not a train track that you get on and you kind of stay on that path, right? And I think the best employees, when I'm looking at somebody, I'm actually most interested in somebody that doesn't have a single track. I'm most interested that somebody came from a different field. You came from military, you came from hospitality, you came from teaching, you came from some other field, because you bring with you other experiences. And there's nothing wrong with the person that, you know, goes to college and kind of goes down that train track, because we need those deep specialists, but we also need people that have a variety of skills. And I think most of the cohort in this class, this kind of program, you have more wide skills. So that's, you know, that's important. And I look forward to the discussion. Thanks.
Great intro, and thank you so much for coming back and talking to us. Teacher here hopped out of the classroom to come into this field, so good reference there. Katie, thank you so much for coming back, and you had a great, we really appreciated having you last time and talking about clearance jobs and all the great things you do. Same question, what do you do for clearance jobs, and you know, what brings you talking to our CWCT students this evening?
Sure, Steve, I just want to make sure you can hear me. Are we good? Okay.
Oh yeah. I'm not gonna give you a hard time about last time. That was
Okay,
that was probably my fault. We'll blame it on me. Okay.
No, thank you. So hello, friends. Thank you for having me. I'm Katie Keller. I'm the content marketing manager at clearancejobs.com. And so what that means is I write articles for our news site. I host our podcast. I manage all of our marketing communications to our partners, which is over 2,000 defense contractors and federal agencies. And then our internal stakeholders, which is our cleared candidates. So we're an online career marketplace. Those partners are those employers that are looking for cleared, a lot of cybersecurity talent. And so what I do there is very important, but I like to talk about what I did formerly, which was a recruiter for a lot of cybersecurity positions. So I'm really excited for the discussion tonight. And what motivated me to be here is, I'm going to name drop Kiana Gainey. She is she's a veteran. She's an entrepreneur. She has a government contracting business that's focused on cybersecurity for government clients, but then she also has a nonprofit that is focused on finding more cybersecurity talent. As Steve and a lot of people have alluded to, there are just way too many openings for the candidates and the talent pool that we have. And it's seriously a real issue. So Kiana Gainey, she has a lot of insights, and that's what has really made me more interested in this topic and getting more folks interested and involved in cybersecurity. Another agency I'll name drop, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. It's a mouthful. But one thing that they tout is that you don't have to have a cybersecurity background to be able to support the cybersecurity goals of, our country. So again, I'm really excited for the discussion, and thank you for having me again.
Likewise, Katie, thanks for coming back. And last but not least, Sandy, thank you so much for having us. Hire Heroes USA is a great partner to our program. And we're really happy to have you here. So same question to you. What do you do for Hire Heroes, and what do you bring to the table here tonight? I know you have a lot of wisdom and have been doing this for a while on helping vets to get really good jobs in the industries. So yeah, same question. What do you do, and what brings you here tonight?
There we go. Thanks, Steve, for inviting me and for having me as part of the panel. My role in the organization of Hire Heroes USA is Referral and Training Partners Manager. What I do is I connect our clients who have needs that fall outside their technical job search lane but directing those needs directly affect their ability to focus on their job search or be successful. It can be anything from additional resources along the income support line or health and wellness, or it can be training and certifications. And that's why we're partnered with CWCT, this great program, because often our clients need additional training so that they can make a career pivot into something new, something different that they want to get into now that they have a choice of what career field they follow. Hire Heroes USA empowers U.S. service members, veterans, and military spouses to find success in the civilian workforce. So each client receives personalized one-on-one assistance, and each client's experience with us is going to be unique to them based on where they are in their job search, what they want to do moving forward, and their level of engagement with us. All of the services we provide to our clients, either through our employees or our extensive volunteer corps, are completely free to the client, and the client never loses eligibility to receive those services. So our goal is to empower them and train them so that they don't need us, but our arms are always open for those who want additional assistance. Thank you.
And thank you so much. And you know, you send students our way, and then we get great things about when we send them back to you to help them get the job. So great organization, great partner in our program. I'm going to go ahead and segue looking at my questions here. 78% of our students come from a military first responder background. So when we're talking about kind of breaking into the cybersecurity industry, and whether this is coming from what your organization necessarily does to help address this, or just your own personal opinion, what challenges do you see veterans in specific facing as they transition out of the military and navigate this, what can be a very convoluted process you call workforce application process, landing the job? So what challenges do you see veterans in specific facing as they transition out of the military into cybersecurity? And again, whether it's from your organization or just your own personal opinion, you know, your advice on how to kind of address that. So what's the challenge, and how would you recommend, what's your advice on addressing it? Open to the panel.
Since we're focused on veterans, I'll go first. So the biggest problem that a lot of our clients see is not being focused, either in their job search or in their resume. They also often have difficulty speaking about themselves and what they bring to the table, because in the military, they're part of a team, and that's the mindset in the military. So it's hard for them sometimes to speak about what they do and the value that they bring to the table. And that's one reason why the services that we provide are so helpful, because they can get that one-on-one experience. They can get that practice before they're in an actual interview. They can practice translating that military jargon into civilian language that civilian employers understand and recognize, as well as we teach them how to maximize their job search efforts and how to bring out what's going to be most important for that employer to see.
I'll go next.
Y'all take it away. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I can't recall the stat, but I know that between women and veterans, if they don't meet like 80% of the requirements on an opening, they just won't apply. And I am a firm believer that even if you meet 50% of them, you still should apply. Just because you can get on a recruiter or a company's pipeline list just from that application. So every application you look at and you're like, oh, I don't meet, you know, the minimum or the desired qualifications, still apply. So that's a big challenge I see in a lot of the transitioning military and veterans that I've worked with in the past. They look at the requirements, and if they don't meet every single one, they won't apply. And even from like a networking standpoint, if you see an opening and you don't meet the qualifications, still apply there and then connect with a recruiter later and, you know, explain your application and why you applied. And you know, even if I'm not a good fit, can I still be on your pipeline list for future openings? I see that has been a big issue in my experience.
Go ahead and go next. I'm going to go with what I call the human factor. Sometimes When we've hired military people, we take pride in doing that as well. But sometimes there's the relevancy. When you've been used to being in a group, you're a team player, you're also kind of limited to the outside, the citizens, if you will, the normal everyday citizens. So, sometimes they're not as relevant, and that can show up through their application process. They minimize their own skills, as the other person said, but also the idea of not having the ability to network. And people do business with those people they know, like, and trust. So the ability to connect quickly is a challenge. And I will say that that's something we've worked with military vets and people who are trying to transition out of the military. Also, knowing what those resources are. When I thought about this today, what are the different organizations and resources? Well, they're limited. Their view has been right here. So for myself, I'm going to say, are they actually capable of adapting? Are they capable of coming out of that? So now the good things they do have going for them is that rigid, right? That is also going to work for them. But I think the ability to relate the human factor, toot their own horn, talk about what they do well, and then being willing, tell that person you're interviewing with, you know what, here's what I know I do well, but I know I'm lacking in my people skills, or I'm lacking in my ability to talk really good about myself and what I can do. I'm also very adaptable. I need to hear that, but then I also need to see it in their skills assessment. So that's kind of my small view.
No, I think that's really great too. And I think just to hop in there, I know Alyssa, I think, wants to jump in there. And I hear this from a lot of veterans as well. And to my Army folks out there, this will resonate with you. WLC, ALC, SLC, the promotion pathways are pretty standardized, right? So, and you know exactly who your leadership is, you know what your unit is unless you're transferred. Networking means something very different in the civilian workforce, and it's beyond civilian friendly language. So I really appreciate that, Donna, and I appreciate your input as well. I know MSI does really great things to address that. And I want to hear more from you about what your organization actually looks like, the way you take somebody in, and like how that process looks like, especially to somebody like me hasn't done a whole lot of work with a group like yours. But we'll get to that. Alyssa, I know you wanted to hop in there.
Yes, and I apologize if my network, hopefully you can hear me okay, but I just definitely wanted to echo what everyone was just saying. It is, what we found really is, that everyone is extremely humble, and so that confidence is so critical when we have a job advocate really helping someone from the military come into a role. The other thing is really making sure we find working in team environments and team settings. For example, in a lab where you're really moving around, it's not as structured, and you're learning different parts of whether it's a SOC environment, a NOC environment, you're learning different products and IT spaces has really shown up well for our experience within the military world, is working as a team, really learning an environment, and then that confidence has continued to build and really gone on to more individual contributor and leader roles, which are such strengths for so many.
Thanks, Alyssa. That really resonates, I think, with me and a lot of the folks in here. If anyone else wants to hop in on the panel, Rebecca, I think you might want to go ahead and share.
No, actually, I hit off mute by mistake. I'm gonna wait for another question.
All right,
Thanks.
cool. No, that's fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of like shift over to, I don't want this to be necessarily a shameless plug for y'all, but you're more than welcome to do so. But we're all here and we all really appreciate your subject matter expertise in the industry, but many of us here are also interested in the resources that y'all provide. So as we're kind of, and the question is really, what advice do you have for job seekers as they transition into the field, whether they're veterans or not, but more so maybe what your organization you think does, and that's the plug part, does to kind of help with that. I mean, what kind of resources does your organization kind of offer to that student in our program? They're studying cybersecurity courses, they're trying to get a job. If you could just each elaborate a little bit on that, I think that would be really helpful for our students.
I can start first and go quickly and then turn it over to more of the experts on the HR side. We're very focused on hiring veterans, very focused on hiring first responders. We're really skills focused, less about what degree you have or where you went to school, more about the skills you have. And we do have, Cisco is a very inclusive company. So if you're a veteran, if you're a person on the spectrum, If you're a Native American, if you're LGBTQ, we don't care. If you got blue hair, you got tats. Cisco of old cared about that. We don't care about that now, right? We really look at hiring the right person for the job. It's really role-based hiring. And so we focus on that. And for people that are coming from a challenging background, whether it's transitioning military, because I was part of a military family, that's hard to kind of make that change sometimes. If you are LGBTQ and you're quiet and you're not sure you can be your authentic self, we have employee resource groups all around Cisco. And it doesn't matter what background you have, you can plug into an employee resource group at Cisco and be surrounded by people like you that get you. We have an autism spectrum disorder employee resource group. They're phenomenal employees. They're amazing. They may not be able to look you in the eye all the time and talk, but they are killer employees. And so these employee resource groups make them feel at home. So that's just one thing that a company like Cisco and a lot of companies do that now. So if you feel like you're struggling because you might not fit in, when you're interviewing or researching the company, look to see what kind of support resources they have to fit you as a person. So I'm going to stop there and let other people talk.
Thanks,
go
Rebecca.
ahead and
Yeah,
go.
whoever wants to jump in, please do.
I'll jump in. First of all, that was great. She said, let the expert. She is an expert, but I'm going to say, okay. So first of all, I am a HR person to my core, but I want to say something. First of all, the best recruiter is not someone who comes in with a master's degree. They're not that person that comes in having that great foundation of HR. A good recruiter will talk to people. A great recruiter will connect you. They'll never drop phone calls. They will always close the loop because they're truly about people. So it's the same thing with this. So the people that are the best cyber people are the ones who are absolutely excited about the job. They don't have to act like me and be an animated person, right? But be sure that you know really who you are, right? And if you don't, tell the people, I'm still working through figuring out some facets of who I am, but what I do know about me are 1, 2, and 3. So what do we do for people? Well, in a nutshell, we connect you to people, information, and resources that help you live your best life. Here's why. What you do in your work, what your career is going to be who you are all the time. Science says we can't be one person here and one person there, right? So we truly want to help you live your best life. So we can review your resume, review your CV. We can review your LinkedIn. We can give you honest feedback. No joke. After our last call and our last session, Steve, I had 3 different conversations with the same person because she was so down on herself because she couldn't land that cyber job. So the other thing we do is we help connect you to people and organizations. You have to understand that is a key. It's kind of the 3-legged stool. Me, myself, and I are part of that. Organizations, right? And then your connections. And you know, some of your things like resources, I want to give one out to Allison.com. If you don't have something, go to it's ALISON.com. They have everything. There's free stuff. There's resources to help you improve your customer service skills, because at the end of the day, cybersecurity to me is a bad thing. Let me say this, it is a bad thing, but it's also a great thing. It has opened up the doors for many jobs, opportunities, people having 2nd and 3rd careers now. We have veterans who have never really had opportunities, you know, in other areas. So now it is, of course, it's a bad thing when it's not, when it's attacking your systems, but the human factor is always going to be what we go to. We're never going to lose it. So to those students, number 1, believe in yourself. Be authentic. MSI can absolutely help you review and assess and give you honest feedback. One thing we've learned is this: time is money. So we're going to be honest with you. That resume, don't let anybody kid you. When you apply for a job with me, I want to think that you only care about working for my organization, right? So that's just a few things. Again, we will help you review every profile you have. Put yourself out there. Put yourself on Snapchat, LinkedIn, TikTok. We can help you do that, but also follow through. And if you're just looking to get connected to organizations, we can do that. But ultimately, our goal is to help you land a job that leads you to a career that helps you live your best life.
I'll go next. So clearancejobs.com, some of the resources that we offer include resume templates. Our main goal is to connect you with an employer that's going to hire you. Similar to MSI though, we review resumes, we help out with that. We help out in interviewing. We help out with if you're looking to career pivot, what certification you need to get to make sure you meet government contracting requirements or, that sort of thing. So a lot of content is being pumped out of clearance jobs in addition to sort of the security clearance process and policy updates in that world. I can get into that a little bit more if anybody's interested. But I think really the most important thing is just that there are so many organizations right now looking for cybersecurity talent. And so the ball is extremely in your court. So you need to leverage this time because eventually the market is going to shift and there are going to be too many candidates for the job openings. That's at least what I think. But right now you really need to leverage this time. Make sure the employer that you're looking for or that you're conversing with is going to make you happy. But yeah, so I mean, clearance jobs, we're just really here to be, we're completely free too if you have a security clearance. So, and a lot of our other resources, if you check out about.clearancejobs.com, our resource library, everything is free. So we're just here to be a resource for anyone navigating the job search.
May I add one thing, Steve? Something we've learned, we've started helping people do is get your resume digital and get a video resume. That is something that is really important. I like to have a 1 to 3 minute video about yourself, but a video resume is very critical and it's quick. Time is money. So if you have that, either 1 to 3 minute video of yourself, know your spiel, right? And then also that video resume, we're not going to always do paper resumes and everybody on this call knows that. So that might be an extra tip and we do that as well.
I appreciate that tip. I'll let the rest of the panel still add into this question, but man, I'm so excited. I don't know if any of y'all out there have felt disheartened in the application process and in the job search. Very disheartened, and especially when I was coming out of my undergrad. And I was looking for jobs and it was disheartening, but I kind of needed to feel more empowered. And I've heard that from Katie, from Donna and Rebecca already, that yes, there's organizations out there that are going to take care of you. Yes, there's really great jobs out there. And that's amazing, but you have to believe in yourself too. And you have to take advantage of the candidates market. You have to take advantage of resources like you're hearing about tonight. You have to take advantage of educational resources like Netiquette. Take advantage of those things, kind of seize the day. Is that Carpe Diem? I think that's Carpe Diem, seize it. And I just kind of want to reiterate that at least that's what I'm thinking about right now. And I know that's a qualitative thing. We're talking about all these great resources, but that's the vibe I'm catching. I just want to reiterate that. I think that's a cool thing to believe in yourself as it relates to finding that job in cyber. I'll leave it back to the panel though to keep talking about what your organization does though.
And hi, it's Alyssa. So I just wanted to kind of piggyback of all of the impressive things that we've been hearing. If you want, just for you all to know from it, it's such a candidate-driven market. There are about 1,400 employers in Illinois right now looking for cyber. In Indiana, there's 77 with active openings. In Tennessee, there's 703. In North Carolina, there's 1,300. I mean, it is amazing right now, and everyone that is looking for entry-level cybersecurity talent. And so much too, I think, with the clearances. So at Manpower Group, we have a public sector entity that is very focused on helping those gain. I see in the chat, we do sponsored clearances. That's certainly something we can help with. We're very much aligned with our customers to ensure that you have your clearances active and are, it's all managed in the correct way. And I know that is something that you all, it's such a differentiator for you in this market right now too. So certainly an area where we can help. And now you can hear me, sorry.
One of the strengths of Hire Heroes USA and the services that we provide is that we've got such a strong volunteer core. They're all professionals, experts in their own fields and their own roles across most industries, including, all sorts of IT and cybersecurity. They can help you build your network as well. We have had clients, it doesn't happen all the time, but we have had volunteers who have facilitated the hire of one of the clients that they have spoken to and provided a mock interview for. But these opportunities can be, as many as are helpful to you, as many as you want to have to get that confidence to learn about new career fields and maybe nuance what you're looking for. If there's a specific aspect of cybersecurity that you're interested in, and they can help you identify those things that are going to be your best fit. So that's, look at it as an informational interview, which is a great way to build your network and to learn about the field that you want to go into.
I've got to add to that, if I may, Steve. So sorry. First of all, I'm excited. I could do this for until midnight. We won't, but I could. But I want to piggyback Alyssa and Sandy because first of all, mock interviews. So we're going to be hosting mock interviews. We're going to do it in person in our community, but we're also going to be doing it, and I'll make sure I get that to Steve, but we're going to do it for certain industries. And we're specifically designing this for cybersecurity because again, this is the people think that it's not, that they're not very personable and this is the very introvert, and that may be the case. But if you'll practice, I know that sounds silly, practice, go through it a few times, you will find that it's not as scary as you think. And with it being your market, right? Like Alyssa said, this is your market. So, make sure you're micro focusing on the companies you want, because the good thing about cyber is that every company is going to need you. So do you want to work in insurance? Do you want to work in, I don't know, what gadgets, widgets? Go find a company. I promise you, they're going to need you. I want to give a plug for ATD. This is about free resources, because to me, when you're looking for a job, it's kind of silly. I think my panel partners here would say the same when somebody's charging you to do something. So if somebody tells you they're going to charge you for something, red flag, don't do it. You can see all of my buddies here saying no. So ATD is the Association for Talent Development. It's a nationwide organization like SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management. I'm the president for our Chattanooga chapter, proud president. There are so many free resources, and we're all about helping talent. And we're having this discussion. I think Steve Ryder is going to be one of our panelists in September. So go to ATD. You've got a national or Chattanooga, all types of free resources to help you be your best self at that interview and land that job.
I'm going to add in one thing here to follow on to that. Several of the folks have said, know yourself, like know your skills and know what you want. I know it's scary when you're getting out of the military, you're changing careers and you just want a job. I just need a job. I've got bills to pay, but that's a mistake. So take an assessment of yourself, and maybe you want to work in healthcare. Maybe you want nothing to do with healthcare and you want to work in public sector. You want to work in the cleared space. Know what you want, right? Don't be like, I'll take anything. I'm just so desperate for a job. Because as we've said, this is a seller's market, right? You all have skills that people want. So know who you are, know what you want, know your value, and hang your hat on things that you've done, right? It's not about your resume or it's about skills. Talk about projects that you've done, because if you've done it, your confidence will come through, right? So just be your authentic self and focus on what you want and the career, the kind of jobs that you want, and you'll be okay. It's when people are so desperate that they're like, and I get it, right? You've got family and kids and rent and stuff, but you won't be happy. And so take that little bit of extra time to be more selective, because remember, you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. So keep that in mind.
I was going to speak. Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Well, I was just going to speak to sort of the clearance space. I'm not going to take up too much time because I will be in a breakout room after this. But one thing, just make sure your keywords are on your resume. I mean, just as much as I feel like in the candidates market that it's in, you put a resume up, employers are going to be reaching out to you if you have the skill sets and the certifications and all of those keywords on your resume, and that just makes your job easy. So just making sure that you have those keywords. I am going to say for the clearance space, I'm always going to say ClearanceJobs is where you should be because it's a secure, vetted platform where you only have defense contractors and federal agencies. So just having a security mindset when you are on social media, I think is important, but all of you people know that. And then the last plug I did want to put in terms of salary negotiations, employers are, trying to make their money too. One thing that we put out is the security clearance compensation report. We survey like 50,000 people, a lot of cybersecurity and IT roles. So you can see what location, what clearance level, what people are actually making, and you can use that to advocate for yourself. So knowing those number resources, I think is important as well.
I absolutely agree with that because that also shows that you've done your investment in preparing yourself, not only just for the job, but for the process of getting that job. And that will speak loud and clear. If you're going to prepare yourself for a salary negotiation, then you're more than likely going to be very prepared for the role that you are seeking. So those are great tips. One of the analogies that I have shared with clients is as far as focusing your job search. It's great that you're willing to do anything and that you're willing to, whatever the role might be, you're going to, willing to make yourself into that role. But that doesn't help an employer. An employer doesn't want someone who can do anything. They're looking for someone who can do a specific job. So think of it in this way. Do you want to take down big game using a big target using a shotgun with little tiny BBs, or do you want to use a rifle that is focused? And you want to use that rifle for your job search so that you are honing in on what is your best connection and what you want to do, and make sure that you can communicate that. And that will help lead to your success rather than and that's also why it's important to tailor your resume to each role that you apply to so that you get through those applicant tracking systems and you speak directly to the pain point that the employer has.
I've got to piggyback that.
Sandy. Oh, I was just
Go
going to say
ahead.
I'm stealing the rifle shotgun analogy. I like that one a lot.
I love it. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to go even third grade on you. It's kind of like desperation shows, and you don't just want a boyfriend or a girlfriend, right? You want the right boyfriend, the right girlfriend. So it's kind of the same thing. And desperation will come through. We HR experts, HR is a science, right, of behavior. So we see that. So you don't want to seem desperate, because on the flip side of that, the recruiting team has metrics, right? They've got deadlines. They really do want to hire you, but they want to hire the right person. There's metrics that some of you who are looking for jobs don't know, because sometimes you never hear back from recruiters. That's the worst thing, right? But they do have time to connect, time to interview, time to feel, time. So all of these are metrics that a lot of recruiters are held to, but they're just as incentivized or motivated to get the right man or woman in the job. So do not ever be desperate, but know what you want. And the other thing is this, I'm gonna go back to something that a couple of my power panelists, y'all see how I threw that in there, have stated. It's about the added value. When you're qualified to be a recruiter, I know you can do 1 through 5. I want to know what else you bring. Are you empathetic? Are you a good connector? Do you get along well with people? Do you have the ability to meet deadlines? What are some added value things you're bringing? Because when I look at a cybersecurity specialist, I'm going to say, okay, I know they can do the job, either because they just got their certification or they've done it. Now I want to find out more about what added value do you bring to our organization or our client? And that's always important to me.
Y'all stole my final question, and the one before that. I think I could make a career as a moderator if I panels like this all the time. Y'all have been great. No, my last question was going to be, really just how do we present ourselves authentically and how to differentiate yourself. But I think we've kind of talked about that a lot tonight. We're at 8:45. I know at least Katie is going to be around for a little bit in a breakout session. I'm going to leave this Zoom open for as long as y'all need. And I think the rest of y'all were in breakouts before this. But if you need to talk to anybody after this, I'm going to leave the Zoom open for any of those small group or one-on-one conversations. To kind of anchor the conversation tonight, if one or two of you wants to just kind of give advice, just kind of a summary of the best advice you could get to a job seeker that's trying to look into the cyber field right now. It doesn't even have to be specific, but if you could just anchor a conversation with one really good piece of advice for a job seeker, let's go with that with the last question. Katie looks hungry for that one.
I would love to answer that one. So I know that we work in such a digital space right now, but I found so much from in-person networking events, but not even necessarily job fairs. I think looking outside the box, joining organizations like the Intelligence and National Security Alliance, if you're looking to work in national security, trying to find those niche organizations that are maybe not necessarily going to serve you a job opening like a job fair, but just a place to network, maybe find a mentor or two or three or five. I think trying to find ways to partner with people instead of just like serving you a job or from a recruiting perspective, a candidate that's going to serve an opening that I have right then. I think that's so important. That's true networking, finding someone who's going to build a long-term relationship instead of like a short-term goal. I'm just going to leave it there and give other people time.
Yeah, Katie, I'm going to totally piggyback off of you there because I think it doesn't matter what you're transitioning from. I think we're all in a place where just ask for help. It is so okay to just ask for help. And I think there's a human instinct in the networking space and what we're doing today and just in our day-to-day. If there are things that you feel like you have gaps, bring it up, talk about it. Just use people like all of us here together to really ask for help and figure out how we can help you navigate in any way and vice versa with your peers, companies, you name it. But I think that's something that we all can be doing and working together. So
I will just add that connecting and relationships are the new currency. And everything you do in life is going to fail or succeed over relationships. So build relationships, use your connections, and centralize. Use a tool. There's a lot of tools out there. Centralize everything you're doing in your job search, from websites to people, all of that. Centralize it because it can be overwhelming, but be relentless in your pursuit to pursue that thing that will help you live your best life. If you're living your best life, everything else is going to fall in line.
For our veterans, my best piece of advice is to sign up for free services through Hire Heroes USA. All of the other things that have been said are great, but this is the one unique thing that I have to add. So focus, network, and sign up for services through Hire Heroes USA.
Thanks, y'all. I really appreciate that anchor. Again, y'all have been an excellent panel. Sincere thanks to Rebecca, Sandy, Donna, Katie, and Alyssa in order I see at the top of my Zoom screen. Thanks y'all so much for your time, your input. And this is kind of wrapping up the night here. Steve, if you want to say anything, I'll give it over to you. But again, sincere thanks to our panel. Thank you for being friends of our CWCT program. Thank you for your continued commitment to our students and to join us at these events. We really believe that this is a great opportunity, and I want to reiterate this for the students listening, that the folks in this panel have not only made themselves available to talk here, but have in the past and continue to make themselves available on a one-on-one basis, whether that's on LinkedIn or an email or as the representative of their organization. Ask for help. And if you didn't know how to before tonight, you do now. That's been covered many times, as well as a lot of other great tips tonight. So to my panel, to my students, thank you. A huge shout out to Steve Ryder, a huge shout out to Amber Schuler and Chrissy Duncan on our staff here that are representing this evening. Do a lot of great work with CWCT. We've actually hit over 1,000 students now in the program. We're really excited. It's going great, and we're really excited for the future. So Steve, I'll turn it over to you. And again, the last logistic thing, to at least Katie and whoever else is going to stay on, I'll leave the Zoom open till I hear from y'all. So no rush. Steve, take it away, sir.
Not much I can add from that, Steve. Great job. Great job to our panelists, to our students who's still on. Listen to what's been told to you. A lot of pearls of wisdom have been shared. We're here to serve you, all of us. Those are panelists you heard tonight, the team from CWCT, and let's go get them, okay? Have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Let's go get them. I like that. Thanks, Steve. All right, y'all.
Thank
Um,
you.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
And Steve, Chrissy, and Amber, I'll just leave this open. I'm going to camera off. Y'all feel free to pop off. I'll leave this Zoom just open for anybody that wants to have conversations in the breakout rooms. I'll leave it open for
We'll talk tomorrow. then.
talk tomorrow. Yeah, I'll leave it open for 20, 30, whatever is needed.
Great job. Thanks.
I'm going to go grab some pizza and heat it up. I'm
I was
hungry.
gonna say, somebody stay and chat with me and let me answer your questions, please.
And if you want, Katie, so I opened up a breakout for you. It's up to you. Like if you want to stay in here, there's no one else here, so you can stay in here. It's completely fine. But that's
Okay,
probably
so-
easier than moving over. But let me see if people are already in the clearance jobs one.
Oh, I got 3 in there. I'm
yeah,
leaving
what-
you.
Maybe
Ta-ta.
hop down there. Thanks, Katie.
Yeah.